Would you
It's
say that they have to figure out what trust is about?
oh, absolutely.
And
Yeah,
that's kind of the key factor to flipping from the
yeah,
self-preservation mode to, okay, this guy's not going to hurt me ever, so I can trust him
right.
to go anywhere. Okay. And that makes
The
a
other
lot of sense.
the other side of that trust and that building that trust is, um, you watch horses in the wild.
Mhm.
Like the Mustang is the most into pressure animal you'll ever find. And so it's like when you start, even a 2 or 3 year old, you start riding that horse for the first time,
Mhm.
and maybe you want to move a shoulder or move the ribs or move the hips. As soon as you lay your foot into that position, he's going to move right back into it. And he's going to move into it with everything he's got. He's not going to move away from it like you would expect.
Right.
And the reason that is, if you watch, say, two studs in the wild,
Yep.
they'll get to fighting and they're back to back and their butts are touching and they're kicking each other. The
Right.
first one that moves gets hurt because he's at the end of the kick and he gets the full
Oh,
extension of the fist or the kick or whatever.
right.
Um, so they're into pressure. They stay connected
Right.
so that they don't get hurt. So then when you get on and you put a foot in one and you put a spur in the ribs and you expect that rib cage to round out or the hips to yield and move, they just move into it. And they're like, yeah, I get this. I know this deal. I'm staying right here. I'll take all this pressure you can possibly apply,
That's
but if
interesting.
you,
And it's the opposite with the domestic horse. Like mine will
yeah,
move away from my pressure. That's really interesting. So you kind of have
that's
to
a,
reverse what your pressure, well, I won't say pressure points, but your use of pressure with them.
yeah. And you think about like the Mustang is, they're so light. The domestic horse is light, but he has been conditioned to take it or leave it.
Right.
Mustang, on the other hand, like I've seen like the big old greenhead flies come down and get like that close to a horse's butt, and they'll start quivering and shaking on these
Yeah.
wild horses. And it's like my friend Brian Newbert pointed that out to me one time. He said, if the horse can feel that fly almost to touch it, he
Yeah.
said, why do you think kicking him any harder in the ribs would make any difference?
What a great
It's
point.
like, yeah. So you can take on the ground with a yearling or a 2 year old or a
Yeah.
3 year old or whatever, and say you pick up on your halter and you could take this pin and you could lay it on him that much. I don't know if you can see the
Yeah.
indention on the finger,
Yeah.
and just leave it there. You're holding the head, you're touching him there. As soon as he moves, you just take that pin away. Now, if you take that same scenario, you bend his head and you hit that pin like that and push on it harder,
Yeah.
he's not going to move away. He's just going to move into it because he's going to go, oh, yeah, my sense of self-preservation says I got to stay close. So if you do less, reward the smallest try, like Tom Dorrance, Bill Ray Hunt, all those guys said in the beginning, all of a sudden you have the lightest, most responsive horse you can ever think to have. And, or you can dull that, it depends on your touch.
Right. Right. And you see a lot of guys out there trying to yeehaw their horse a little hard, and then they don't understand why they create a problem. Even the domestic horse, you could apply that to my horse too, I think. Maybe some days differently than others. I got a stubborn Appaloosa, but just the lighter touch, it doesn't matter how hard, it just, they know it's there. That makes a lot of sense, really.